Thank you very much to everybody who is joining us from all over around the world. Welcome to Yara Live Spaces. If it's Yara Live events, it's all about connecting, it's all about networking, but more importantly, it's all about discussing key issues that can be able to bring value to the farmer and players across the value chain. Today, I'm joined with a host of interesting panelists to help us really understand the theme around soil health and prosperity in the lens of youth engagement. Here in Norway, it's been quite interesting since we came in because of the interactions that we have had. But just before I let you, interact with our panelists, I think it would be good to do a quick round of introductions. And my name is Ronald Janga. I'll be your moderator for today. I'm also happy to say I'm a farmer from Migori County in Kenya. Over to you, Janet.
My name is Janet Taretich. I am wheat farmer and a coffee farmer from Wasingishu, Kenya. I am 30 years old and an influencer in agriculture.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roger Skirwa, also known as Mr. Agriculture on the socials. I'm a farmer from Nandi in Kenya. I do corn. We also do a bit of dairy and also tea. Yeah, I'm 31 years old. Thank you so much.
I'm Svein Holsetter. I'm the CEO of Yara International. Really excited about this meeting. This will be one of my most important meetings this year. So really looking forward to both the discussion here, but also interacting with all of you and to get questions as well. And really look forward to learn more about how can we drive agriculture forward, how can we use technology, how do we drive this forward together. So super excited to be here and look forward to the discussions.
Maybe since you have a microphone, Spain, just after Spain, you have had the opportunity to interact with these amazing young people, of course, myself. What excites you about the conversation that we're just about to have? And also, welcome as to Norway.
well, first of all, it's really great to have you here in Oslo. It's a different setting than in Kenya, but it's also a good opportunity for us to, well, first show the head office of our global operations here in Oslo, but there will be a session in Porsgrunn as well, which is one of our largest fertilizer plants, so you can see how we make the product. And for me now, with really the development since last time we both met, and then we did the interactive or the Twitter live session as well. I've had a lot of meetings. I refer to the call and to the engagement as well, and also to share some of my takeaways from COP, the climate meeting in Dubai back in December. Last week, I was in Davos at the World Economic Forum, and food, agriculture, farmers is really coming to the top of the agenda now. But one important topic that was discussed is how do we make farming cool? How do we think about this as a business? How do we drive application of technology? There's so much technology out there, and what I learned from all of you already in the past, but that we should dig further into, is how do we do this at scale? How do we get the youth engaged? Because you work in a different way, the way that you network and share practices. That's really setting the benchmark or the standards for how we could do this. But how to do that at even bigger scale? What should we understand as a fertilizer company, a company that is engaged with farmers? How should we do this differently as well? So I'm really here to learn. That's I really look forward. But again, warm welcome to all of you. Really appreciate that you come here to Oslo, and in particular January. It's it is a bit of a temperature difference as well. So you get to see the Norwegian winter. But a warm welcome to the Yara headquarters.
Thank you very much, my esteemed panelists, and of course, Vane, for welcoming us officially to the Yara International Headquarters here in Norway. Just a bit of context and background. Most of you probably are wondering why we are having this conversation now. But we have the privilege to have interacted, and this is an evolving conversation over time. And today in Oslo, really, we are here as a result of the Yara Shuja Exchange Program, which is really an ambitious program by Yara, but very timely to be able to better support young people and youth engagement in agriculture by exposing them to various different contexts of farming. But really, it's all about understanding better how young people can better engage in agriculture. So I think, Tuyara, thank you very much for granting us an opportunity to come and witness, but also to interact, make connections with a team that's here pushing up very hard on their ambitious goal to bring, power and value ultimately to us as young farmers. So really, that's the essence of the conversation today. And we'll be delving a bit more deeper in the course of the conversation. But I want to thank the team at Yara for the Yara Exchange program, because I think this Yara Shuja program is critical and going forward will be very important to supporting youth engagement in agriculture. Now, I want to bring us now into the topic today. And today, I want us to first think about the soil and soil health. And so, in that context, most of our soils in Africa are known to be very acidic, which again is a big problem when it comes to production. So I just want to listen in a bit more onto the different experiences that you see on the farm. What really are some of those particular experiences that you've gathered in, and in the context of soil and soil health? Or what would be your perspective on that? So I'll start with Rogers, and then I'll come to Janet.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I think the perspective on soil is that most soils back at home in Kenya, in Africa, is they are quite exhausted. They've been used for a very long time, and uh, I think a month ago I visited a farm that is one of our Yara knowledge centers in Kenya. This is Comal Farms, and I got information from the farm is that the farm for a long time, the farmer there, because this is a farmer that got the farm from the white settlers who were there in Kenya. So the farm was previously planted. What was previously planted, the farm were wattle trees, and the wattle trees really exhausted the soil. But if you go there right now, it is a different story, because this is one of the largest farmers in Kenya, and it produces a lot from the farm. Currently, the farmer produces up to around 42, 45 bags of 90 kg maize, which is quite a thing, because currently farmers in Kenya are really producing an average of 20 to 25 bags per acre, of which is very low. So these are the farmer who really does well on trying to regenerate his soil, because he really does minimum soil disturbance. He has good machinery there, minimum soil disturbance, and even the kind of crop rotation he does in the farm really helps his soil, and that is why he's been able to move his production from the lower side to the higher side. So I think soil health is very important to the farmers, and this is the only problem I think with Kenya, with us back there in our farms, is that the machinery that we are using currently doesn't support really some of these technologies that really make these soils to be good. They regenerate the minimum soil disturbance. Yeah, and even farmers are not yet well informed on issues like crop rotation, because you find a farmer growing today maize, next season he grows maize, and he keeps on growing maize, which gets to degenerate the soil, which in the end makes the soil quite not to produce as enough as it should be. Thank you,
Thank
Ron.
you, Rogers. As you bring it back to Janet, I think you mentioned something that is really critical, and I want you to pass the microphone to Janet around connecting, soils and harvest or soils and yield. But I think a bit later when I'm come to you, Svein, I want you to kind of look at soils in the context of food security, because I think Africa is one of the continents, that has got the largest, I think, arable land, but unfortunately, we still suffer food insecurity. So I think when we come back to you, I'd like you to circle back on the building blocks between soil and food security, and really what, as Yara, what is your commitment to being able to support farmers in Africa to better produce? So Janet, I want you now to just maybe give us a sneak peek into your daily, activities on the farm. Just paint a picture for our viewers who are joining us either from Norway or around the world about how your farming activities is, and then make a comment around soils.
So for me, soil health, or how much I understand my soil, is very important. Like my yields at the end of my season really is contributed to by the nature of my soil, up to 60%. So first, I'd love to really appreciate what Yara Kenya has done for me on my farm. 4 years ago, we took our first soil test, and that really made me understand how much I should feed my soil and how much I should feed my plants. And of course, that contributes to the improvement of our yields at the end of every year. We have conversations ongoing for our next season, where we are trying to push the farm into one of the knowledge centers in my region. And of course, the first topic is how will they correct my soil, because it is acidic. So, and of course, the soil correction bit, where we will have to do some liming. Yeah. So I think we need to, as much as farmers are beginning to understand that soil health is very important, they need to understand how much there are so many people who are willing to help them. For example, there are innovations in Yara. There's an innovation called Yara Bodega, where soil testing is done at a lower price. That is already there, and I think what we can do for the coming season is maybe we need to amplify our voices and tell them this is how Yara is willing to help you, and you can access soil testing services at a lower price, which is this is the first journey towards our food security. Yeah.
As you pass the mic over to Spain, just before you comment, Spain, I think you're listening really to the plight of farmers in Africa, and more interestingly, young farmers really, who've taken up the leap of faith, because as you know, farming is not easy, but have put in the confidence to begin, their farming journey. And I think some of the things that are coming from Janet and of course Rogers is really they are in it, for the long term, but really interventions such as what Yara is doing, and I think that's what they're very keen to listen into. And I think Janet has, of course, testified to the fact that already there is the existence of technology, for instance, that can be able to help us to better our soils. Number two, I think one of the things that Rogers mentioned about is farmers sometimes do some practices because of the lack of knowledge. I mean, at Yara, we say knowledge grows. How better can we support farmers in the context of, food security? Yeah.
Well, it's very good to hear from Janet what we are doing. That's a start, and really pleased that we start this discussion with focusing on soil and soil health, because that's so often overlooked. We tend to focus on the crops or fertilizer, but the thing is, if you don't get soil health right, then forget about everything else. It's the foundation of everything, and we should think about the soil as a living organism, and how do we make sure that stays healthy. And I mean, think about us as humans as well. In order to grow and to be healthy, we need a balanced diet, and we need to make sure we get the right nutrition, right? But when I see how soil is treated across the world, a lot of the farming techniques are based on, when you take the crop out and you replace one or two nutrients, and over time that damages the soil as well. And imagine, if I told the three of you that from today on you will get one, maybe two nutrients, your health wouldn't be wouldn't be great. So from that perspective, why do we think soil is different? And you highlighted very well that we should focus on soil health. And if we have healthy soil, then we get better yields, we get better crops. The soil is better at withstanding climate change as well. And exactly as you pointed out, Janet, on if the soil is acidic, the best thing to do is to do liming, because if the soil is not able to absorb the nutrients, it doesn't help even if you have the best quality, best fertilizer. If the soil is not able to absorb it, it doesn't help. And that's where liming in many areas will help, and where it's important also on policy across Africa to map that, and that we have policies that support it. Since last time we spoke, I've had the opportunity to both listen to and talk with President Ruto, and he speaks very insightful about the need to have more balanced nutrition, and how that helps. Listen to the agronomists, listen to the farmers, and add back the right nutrients. But when I heard the results of that, and how that has impacted the total maize yields in Kenya, it makes sense on a country level. Even it's that big an impact, and there are many learnings of that can apply across Africa. And I was in a discussion with several African leaders last week in Davos, and I said that Africa will become Yara's biggest market. It's not there now. I don't know when it will happen, but I do know it will happen, because just look at the whole continent. Look at arable land, look at population growth in Africa, but also the opportunity for Africa to be the major food producer for the rest of the world, and the world needs more food. We've seen the impact of COVID and how fragile the food system is with bottlenecks. We see the impact of conflict to global food supply. We see the impact of climate. So we need more sustainable production in more parts of the world. And the only area that really has the potential to increase food production enough to supply the growing world population is Africa. But then how do we support that? So this is where I want advice from you as well. We have technology, right? We know that soil is important. We need no miracles. We need no breakthrough in terms of products. But how do we get the best practice spread? How do we create policies? How do we drive this? I really would like to hear from you on your views on that, and how could I contribute, but how could also other organizations contribute to help on that journey?
Thank you very much, Spain, and of course, my esteemed panelists. I think now the discussion already, I think, Spain, you preempted really the direction that we want to go with the conversation. Because I think there is a great opportunity as we see around and as scientists are pointing us to. And one of those critical pillars is regenerative agriculture. And really, I think, Rogers, when you were mentioning about the example of the Yara Knowledge Center at Komol, and I want you, just for the sake of our viewers, be able to paint a picture on what have you learned from that knowledge center. I know, Janet, you also have visited that knowledge center. I mean, you are able to see different transformation as a result of the different regenerative agriculture. So kind of answering specifically, really, what are some of those regenerative practices that you've seen that are really rehabilitating the soils and making it better, but ultimately tying it back into that improved yield that is being seen as a result of this practice. But as you come onto that, I just want to thank all our viewers who are joining us. It's really great to see you in your numbers, really. I can see already on the Yara Kenya pages, we have over 60 plus who are just listening in and interacting with us on the comment section. I'm sure that number is going up as time goes by. But also, I want to promise you that we'll answer all your questions. I'm taking note of them. Already questions are coming in, so just be ready to, provide some feedback on that. Like I can see Meshak Amai who says, what measures do you recommend for optimizing soil health through the use of Yara fertilizer, considering the long-term land sustainability, water quality, and ecology balance? So I think thank you very much for all those your questions. Please keep them coming and we will provide feedback. Rogers, over to you on the Yara Knowledge Centers and Komol Farm. Please paint a picture for a Norwegian farmer, for instance, to be with you through your thoughts on Komol Farms.
Thank you, Ronald. First of all, I think Komal Farm is one of the knowledge centers in Kenya whereby we farmers, the small farmers can get an opportunity to go learn because from them, they get to share their experience because Komal Farm is a big farm. They are and they do a number of crops. They do maize, they do wheat, they also do canola, and also some other cover crops as rotational crops in the farm. So first of all, is that what we've been able to learn from the farm is that for them, they don't just plant a single crop. They do crop rotation, of which crop rotation is quite useful for crop or for soil regeneration. Also, is that most of their farms have been they use lime to really balance the acidity to bring up the to remove the acidity from the soil. So for them, they do liming. Another thing that I've learned is from Komol farms we get they have machinery that is very friendly to the soil. They use um, machines that are really minimal that give minimal disturbance to the soil, of which these really uh, uh, because we realize that the soil, there are a number of microorganisms that live in the soils, of which they must also get an opportunity to live so that they can protect the soil. So for us, we've really, for me as a farmer, I've really gotten to learn a lot from Komol Farm. Also is the availability of fertilizer, because at Komol Farms and other knowledge centers, we get to visit them and get Yara fertilizer available for the farmers, because they give the last mile availability to the farmer, because you realize that most farmers can't go to the towns, most farmers can't really go to far places to really get these fertilizers. So these knowledge centers really give us an opportunity to get these products at a close range. And from these, we've been able to, myself, I've been able to visit one of the other farmers around this place. This is Chepses farm, and I've gotten to really appreciate uh, what Chepses is doing, because from learning on what is done at Komol Farms, at the knowledge center, Chepses farm, they've really managed to improve their production and even gotten to the level where we have these other the Komol farms at. So it is really changing lives, because the other time I was there with Ronald and even Janet, we managed to see what the transformation in Chepses life, because currently Chepses is building a home, and these are the proceeds of what he's been doing in the farm. So really changing lives. Yeah, that is the story behind the Komal farm. Thank you.
I want to come to you, Janet, and already we are getting to see impact at farm level. I think for me, really, the most interesting bit is we could have the high level conversations, we could have the high level interventions, but if there is no transformation at the farm level, really there's nothing we're doing at the end of the day. So really, I think the examples like Rogers has given is really critical to fit it all in the piece of food security, because each and every farmer has the privilege and opportunity at farm level to be able to transform their farms using regenerative agriculture. I want to come to you, Janet, and I mean, just think about your farm in the context of climate change. I mean, and it's reality that the impacts of climate change are being felt right at the level of your farm, be it an acre point of a farmer or your farm. So, what exactly do you think, as a farmer, is the opportunity for regenerative agriculture to be able to help you possibly sustain your farming even in the changing climate?
Well, um, some ways in which we can practice regenerative agriculture, like for example, soil cover, which is like cover crops, for instance. These are very important practices that are very important when it comes to coping with climate change. Um, this is what we have a dream. Well, we have a goal to start practicing the cover crop bit on our farm. In other farms where we have they which they do sunflowers and canola, and during the off season we have noticed that in Kenya during the seasons the rain is becoming so unpredictable. If rain is supposed to start in February or March, like now it's January and it's raining in Kenya, which is very strange. Our January is usually for land preparation. So when it comes to May, when you're supposed to get in for our wheat season, it could be dry. So the cover crops are really mandatory in preserving the moisture in the soil, and you see such farms will do much better than our farms which are bare when it was off season. So this is a dream for us, and we hope to emulate. Another thing is we are very happy to have learnt about solutions that help our crops during reduce the impact of climate change. Personally, I am a huge, let me say, fan of the Yara crop boost. This is a solution that is very important for our crops during, let's say, when the sun is really so hard on the crops when it should be raining, and so the crops are able to withstand and survive through the harsh climate conditions until it's favorable for them to grow. So you could really see there's a huge comparison between farms that, like our farm that uses Yaravita crop boost, and another farm that does not have the maize really end up looking like onions. That is, everybody says that, really. I'm the first one. So we are really, these are solutions that are there to help the farmers, and they really need to know how and why you have to use these products and why you have to use such methods when trying to come up with a good farm. Yeah.
Thank you, Janet and Rogers. Since then, I want to come back to you. And I think one of the key things that we've had recently, which is really an ambitious but very important, is the nature positive future. And I want to come back to you just to shed some light on the vision and commitment of Yara to really help Africa, through the nature positive future.
Yes, so this really builds on our commitment based on our mission, or really purpose, as a company, and with how the world is evolving. We're constantly learning, and also trying to understand how can we have the right impact as a company. And as a result of that, then based on how we did our strategy plan and how do we evolve this going forward, we changed our ambition statement in Yara to growing a nature positive food future. And the reason we're doing that is that we see this connected because the world is faced with huge challenges now. Temperature is going up, emissions continue to go up, so we were on the wrong trajectory right now, and we're not on track as world to meet the Paris Agreement. And when we see what is happening to climate right now as a result of emissions, it's quite devastating in many parts of the world. It's not like we need to travel very far to see the impact either. That used to be the case before, but I've seen it firsthand in Kenya, but I also seen it in the last year firsthand in my own town where I grew up. It's 200 kilometers north of Oslo here, and because of extreme weather, a lot of the farmers there lost their entire crops as well. So this is a global challenge, and most farmers work in nature, so most of the food is grown outside, right? And that means that it's probably one of the hardest hit occupations from climate change. So then we need to address that. But farming and food production is also part of the emission issue as well. 25 to 30% of emissions come from agriculture. So we're the industry that faces the impact the hardest, but we also need them to change it. And then regenerative agriculture is part of that solution, because it's about doing farming more sustainably and also being able to better deal with climate change. And I've been with farmers that have really worked on soil health, worked with the regenerative agriculture, worked with the cover crops that you mentioned. And when we see the differences in the plots where you have healthy soil compared to where you have unhealthy soil, and how then the farmer is able to deal with either extreme rain or extreme drought, it makes all the difference. And if you have healthy soil, you have cover crops, it's yes, better at holding moisture, fully agree. It's also better at holding nutrients when we have heavy rain, because if you don't have a healthy soil, then nutrients will be washed away as well. So it's part of the totality. And this is what we try to connect, that we work in nature, we work with nature. If we're able to get farming right, we restore depleted land, then we're also able to produce more food on less land, and then we can free up land for nature as well. If you have healthy soil, then that's also good for biodiversity. So for us, it's all connected, but also an attempt from us to try to stay a bit ahead and to drive the agenda on this. And I'm quite encouraged by what I've seen now in the recent months, in terms of how prominent food and agriculture is on world arenas. I've been quite critical. I've been quite loud as well on the lack of getting farmers and food and agriculture at the top of the agenda. But one major breakthrough happened in late November, early December, in COP in Dubai, where for the first time food was really on the agenda. It has gradually increased, but then we had a food day, and we had a declaration signed by, I believe, 140 countries on sustainable agriculture. So that is one step in the right direction, and that continued into the World Economic Forum last week, where we see that food and agriculture is getting more on the agenda, and soil health. I need to mention that, because the U.S. Secretary Blinken, probably one of the busiest people in the whole world, and probably with the busiest one of the busiest agendas in Davos as well. So he was there for a couple of days, had many meetings, and a few he did streamed online. And one that he chose, and he could have chosen anything, was on soil health, and that's a game changer, I think, and even for himself. And he said it as well. Who would have thought that soil would be at the top of his agenda? But he said, or the essence, I can't repeat everything, but the essence of what he's saying is that if you have unhealthy soil, you don't have food security, and if you don't have food security, you don't have security. And that's how it's linked, right? And we see it with famine, we see it with mass migration, we see weaponization of food in war, all these things. So the fact that now it's raised at the very, very top levels of governments, at the United Nations, at COP, and so on, for us here in the farming industry, this is a game changer. So then, how do we now utilize that momentum to drive just what you're talking about now? On, okay, now we have focus on soil health. What do we do about it? How do we get that right?
Thank you very much, Svein. I love that quote by Secretary Vixen, because again, it's the reality that if we don't sort out our soil problem, which is the primary, base of production, definitely we'll have a security problem at the end of the day. What better way to end the conversation on soil health? But I think it's an evolving conversation, and we can take it further through different forums and keep it, of course, follow all the Yara International and Yara Kenya pages. We have amazing, information and content that's always coming out there on soil health. I think one of the critical things that have come out of this conversation, just as we transition to youth engagement in agriculture, is the commitment, by Yara to be able to restore the land, because that's the primary foundation of production, to be able to again leverage on the assets and knowledge, to bring more yields to farmers in Africa. I think that as we go back home is really a strong message that Yara is critically and investing deliberately and intentionally to help African farmers like ourselves be able to prosper. And lastly, on biodiversity, which I think, again, is very important in the whole ecosystem in the context of climate change, but also really being able to promote that particular aspect of soil health. And now, ladies and gentlemen who are joining us, I just want to give a few of you shout outs just so that you can know we are following very closely, you being able to join us. And I also give my panelists some time to take a couple or maybe a glass of water or coffee. Or coffee, yeah. Yeah. But let me see on the comment sections who we have here. Oh wow, quite a bit of activities. I can see George Otieno, and George Otieno says, I am grateful for this platform so far. I have been longing to see a lady when our day when we will have a collaborative approach with the devolved structures in Kenya for us to disseminate information to the level where it's needed most. And I think Yara is already doing that, as Roger said, with the knowledge centers that are really embedded in the community. And of course, we've been able to visit some of those knowledge centers to see for ourselves. I also see other people asking about availability of different products in Kenya. So I think our team, our technical team, will be able to provide you feedback on where you can get the Yara products. Let me give a last shout out to who do we have here? Or tuned in from Nandi County, probably one of one of your neighbors back at home. Yeah. Yeah. But I also see Edwin at the Ambon. It says, I also grow bananas, but I don't know the fertilizer to use at different stages. I promise you, our technical team will be able to provide you feedback on that. Yeah. So I think we have had a really interesting conversation on the opportunity of transforming agriculture using regenerative agriculture. And again, we've listened into the commitment by Yara to really champion for this nature positive food future in Africa. Really, I believe, and I'm a strong believer, of course, as I almost exit the youth bracket, that really, for us to transform African agriculture, we must deliberately invest in the young people. Because Africa, as we know, is a young continent, right? And therefore, deliberate investment in the youth is the only way to sustainably, be able to support the food future of Africa. And as we know, right? And I think we had a really interesting conversation with William Ngeno, who is, of course, the Yara MD for Yara East Africa, just a couple of days ago. And he reminded us of the sheer reality that in Kenya, the average age of a farmer is 60 years. And so, if we are talking about sustainability of agriculture and the food future, really, we must deliberately involve, invest, and partner with the young people. How better is it for us to be sitting here again with you, Spain, on a conversation that has been evolving, right? From when we met, I remember personally we met at COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh, and then we later met with my colleagues together on a farm in Kenya, and that's where the conversation has been evolving on your question on how better can we support, how can you as Yara support us? And I think there's no better way than the Yara Shuja exchange, which has, of course, given us the opportunity to be here. So I want to now give my colleagues, Janet and Rogers. I just want you, Janet, ladies first, as they say, just paint a picture for our viewers. What does it mean for you to be a farmer? Or what really is your story about a young woman farmer?
Um, I think we were seated at the cafeteria yesterday, and someone asked me. I mean, even here in Norway, we are very much worried about who are going to be the farmers in 30 years from today. Well, that is the same question in Kenya. Who are going to be the farmers in 30 years from today, 40 years? We are very much in trouble. So being a farmer for me is, well, let me paint the picture. You have to be ready to get dirty. This is off season, that's why I look much better. Be ready to get dirty. Be ready to get busy. But of course, it is the most noble activity. This is being a farmer is the best version of myself I will ever be. So I'm very much happy to be a farmer. I'm very much happy to always urge people to produce their own food. It doesn't matter 20 acres, 50 acres. You can also try in your kitchen garden or on the balcony. You have to learn how to produce your own food. Healthy food, I mean. Yeah.
Thank you, Janet. But before I let you go, I feel like you have not painted a picture for a Norwegian who is watching. I want you to tell us, what is your typical day? Is it farming from 8 a.m. to what? I mean, what's a typical day for you? Do you have another job? Because I think we really need to show, really, through the evidence of yourself and your story, to our viewers who are joining us either from Kenya or who want to join agriculture. Is it a deliberate choice that you're in agriculture, or really what's like your typical day on a farm?
Mostly, if you're born in a family with parents who are farmers, I don't really think you have a choice. You have to be a farmer. So my siblings are all girls, and I'm the one who chose to be a farmer. The rest are doing well in the offices. So I'm a farmer 24/7. This is my full-time job. What I've been trying to do is we are trying to change the farm from the old systems from way back to the new systems of how things are really done, in which we make most choices on how we do our family on how we do our farm activities from the knowledge point of view and from the science point of view. So we wake up maybe if on a busy day we wake up at 5 a.m. because sometimes you could do the farm sprays with the machinery, that would start maybe at 7 a.m. because it's much faster. But if we use human labor, we would get up at 5 a.m. so that by 6 we already started spraying the farm. That is wheat. um that applies the same during when we are doing our weeding. The tractor could get bad and you have to spend the whole day with the mechanic, and everyone is wondering what's wrong with this girl. So that is our day. It's pretty much being dirty, being busy. You barely have time for friends, and you are away from the capital city and the towns. You have to be comfortable in the up country.
I think she's mentioned it really graphically, which I think is very important because as a young person who probably is looking to get into agriculture, they must be able to understand the weeds of it. And I think Janet has rightfully put it. You might see, you know, us ourselves here very smart now, but this is really not our normal attire, right? When we are on the farms. But the reality, again, as Janet has said, you must put in the work if you want to engage in agriculture.
I wanted to add something. Well, it comes with its fair of challenges. Like our 2 seasons before this year, we had done corn on our farm, and when it came to the time for harvesting, we had a challenge with labor, and so I was really stressed up most of the time. And there's a neighbor, a man who came to the farm and he said, "Why haven't you harvested?" And they said, "Ah, we are dealing with so many challenges. We can't access labor." And he said, if this farm was run by a man, this was a very tiny problem. I went back to the house and I really cried because, well, we are viewed as people who, a woman in the farm is not really where you're supposed to be. So, well, that was a motivation. And well, the same person came to the farm last year and he was like, this farm, I know for sure you're going to, I mean, this is the best I've ever seen this farm. You're really doing very well. So I think you really need to, as a woman in the farm, you really need to work maybe thrice as much as anyone would have, so that it, it really shows there's good work going on there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Janet. I think that's really interesting. And I want to come to Roger Skirwa, who again is known as Mr. Agriculture. Yeah, maybe you'll want to share with us, where did the name Mr. Agriculture come from? Where did the interest really in agriculture? How did it start really? How have you over the times, been able to be this celebrated person in the field of agriculture and youth engagement in agriculture? And for the sake of our viewers, I'm also happy to say that Rogers is a recipient of the President's Award, the Presidential Award, the OGW, as a result of the commitment and work that is put in agriculture. So please share with us your story in agriculture.
First of all, I think it's. I think one of my most beautiful story is the story of being a farmer, because I started being a farmer back in 2015, 2013, when I was in the university. Uh, I I can say I became a farmer because I was raised by parents who were farmers. So being raised in the village there, I used to admire what my parents would do every other day, because this was their main hustle. This is what made them pay my school fees and even made me be the man I am today. So I would always appreciate what this beautiful field would always do to my parents. And that's why I got into agriculture. When I was in the university, I used to farm uh, at one of the farms close to the university. And this is where the name Mr. Agriculture came, because most of my peers would always wonder, why is this guy always in the farm? Why is this guy always talking about agriculture? And that is why they branded me Mr. Agriculture. And I took up the name because I really liked agriculture. Yeah. And that is how really this story has really been growing every other day. Uh, I also do a number of things on social media. Basically, I do a lot of mentorship and also a lot of teaching on agribusiness, because I would want to really have many other Mr. Agricultures out there. I would always want to have many other young people partake agriculture, because back at home, the young people, most of our age mates would always think that agriculture is meant for those who never went to school. But Janet and I went to school.
Yeah.
Ronald went to school. So agriculture is meant for us all. Agriculture has also been made to look for, to be a job for the retirees. I think Ronald and I, Janet, we are not yet retired. And that is what we would want to tell the young people. Agriculture is meant for you, the young people. It's meant for us all. So let's really take up agriculture, because being in the farm is always beautiful. And I think I've always shared what we do every other day in the farm to really uh, motivate that young person out there. That young person there, young person out there who's in the city, trying to hustle and get a new job. You can come back to the farm with us, and really make a living out of agriculture, because agriculture is a profession like any other. You just have to work hard, and the fruits of being in the farm is always very beautiful. I think we are in Oslo because of agriculture. We travel the world because of agriculture. We've made a living because of agriculture. Yes, agriculture is amazing. Let's all take up agriculture. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to come to you, Spain. I know this is a really passionate topic for you. Yeah, and that's why I want to double down to you now. But just before I do that, I mean, you're listening to these stories really of young people who are very passionate about agriculture. If I would maybe share my short experience in agriculture, I am a petroleum geologist by training on campus. Yeah, I have never been really, I was never excited about farming. And my father was a sugarcane farmer back in the village, and he took all of us to school. And I had a very interesting conversation with Asley about my family, which he knows is large. And my father managed to take us to school because he was a sugarcane farmer, but none of that interested me. I was more of the technology kind of stuff that we need to do in agriculture. But I'm fast forward to my experience in Israel, and I see how they're using agriculture and it's really profitable. And I come back to Kenya and go under the wings of Mr. Agriculture. And I'm able to, for the past 6 years, grow my career in agriculture. And if you ask me, I'm staying in agriculture. So you're going to see this phase a little bit longer. But also, the other, interesting bit that comes into play is that the next millionaires and billionaires are those of us that are seated here, are the farmers. But now I want to come back to you. This is a really, passionate topic for you. It's something that is close to your heart, and that's the reason why you have invested in these young people and ourselves to be here today in Norway. So really, where do you see the best opportunity, and how better can you as Svein out of Yara, but also as the Yara CEO, be able to, just listening into these stories, be able to support and really, catapult these particular young people to the next level?
So first, you're telling some very strong and clear stories, all of you, and I know with your technical skills, your education background, you could choose any profession, but you chose farming, and that in itself is a very strong message. And there is something, and I can talk on behalf of myself as well. I joined the agriculture sector in 2015. Before that, I was in metals and mining industries, and joining Yara then in 2015 and seeing what agriculture is all about. It has been a personal journey as well, and there is something special about the food production. Janet, you said it. There's something noble about growing food, right? It's so direct. You see it. It's tangible, and I think that does something with all of us in the agriculture space that I think is very hard to find in any other profession. But then, and all of you touch on it. It's a business as well. It's a business opportunity, and if we look at this in an African context, I think the total food import bill, food being imported into Africa right now on a yearly basis is probably like 50-60 billion dollars a year. So how about that? It's a 50-60 billion dollar domestic or in continent opportunity, and then on top of it, it's the opportunity to export to the rest of the world as well. How many industries like that are out there? And it is possible to run very profitable farming operations as well. We have, of course, examples in Africa as well. But if we have a large operation in Brazil as well, and you look at how they turned farming into a business. There are many big enterprises, global enterprises in the ag space run out of Brazil. So that shows the opportunity and the potential here. And then how do we drive this? My my dear friend Strive Masiiva, he built an empire on mobile phones. Really, other people saw the opportunity in mobile phones in Africa as well, but he just had more ambitions. He thought it would be even bigger than everyone else, and he was wrong. He admits that because he became even bigger than that. But just from seeing the opportunity and seizing that, he grew a very profitable business. Now that he has made it and done really well, what did he focus on after that? Well, it's agriculture, right? And he's one of these that he could do anything, right? But he wants to drive agriculture forward, and based on the discussions with him, together we launched Generation Africa with the Go Get Us to really drive youth engagement around this, because if we are to turn this into a business at scale, if we are to drive technology at a scale, we need to get young people like yourselves engaged, because you have a different approach. Farming now and in the future is very different from farming in the past. So then we need to drive that. Look at the head of the African Development Bank, Akin Adesina, right? Every time I meet him, he's like, "Farming is a business. It's a great opportunity." It's so this message is starting to be heard. But how should we think about this going forward? And question to all of you, and also to the ones listening in, as we think for the next steps now for Generation Africa and Go Get Us. How do we drive even more youth involvement? How do we use that as a platform to drive the messages that all of you are explaining? Because the future is really in the youth here, and there's no doubt about the future potential of agriculture as a business. And I know that all of you have had huge yield impacts, right? So we already have the pieces, but how do we drive that at scale? How can we use these platforms?
Want to give it a go? Maybe I can go first. Yeah. Thank you very much, Svein. I think the Generation Africa and Go Getters is a really interesting platform. I say that because I have been an applicant. Yeah, so I think it's though not successful, maybe in the future. Yeah, but I think it's the reason why I applied for it is because I saw it gives an entrepreneur like myself the opportunity. So first, I think let me take a step back and say the reason why I applied for it. So I run also a business in agriculture, and it's a consultancy business. And I see a lot of opportunity, in driving technology in agriculture. And so and my colleagues were looking at how can we develop tools, technological tools that can enable farmers to be able to access information, access weather data, and access critical pieces that can be able to help agriculture. But one of the biggest challenges over the 6 years that I've been in agriculture as a business has been getting access to business development services. So really, you can give me resources in terms of financing, but if I don't have the right structures to be able to absorb these resources, definitely I'm plunging myself downwards. So really, I think going forward for go-getters and of course for this particular platform is to really tailor and look at how best can we not only invest in this in terms of resources, but how can we invest also in growing these businesses by either also providing mentorship, which I know is a big component of it, but really critical business development services, as simple as hiring my next professional on my team, be it an agronomist or be it a data scientist. What does that process look like? I don't have that experience. I'm only coming into agriculture. Maybe I'll leave for my colleagues also if there's any other like thoughts that we have. How best can Generation Africa? I mean, you guys are also go-getters, right? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's mentorship, which we have all talked about it. Myself, I am a result of mentorship from Mr. Agriculture. 4 years ago, I inboxed him while I was doing some really small space of traditional vegetables for sale, and I inboxed him and I told him, "Hey, how can I really be like you?" I think that is just what I asked. And looking at me 4 years later, this is me in Norway as a farmer. I run, I manage a farm at home with, I mean, my parents really do understand that when she is at the farm, it's in good hands. Yeah, so mentorship really goes a long way in bringing new minds and pushing in a new perspective of agriculture. Yeah.
For me, the Go Getters has been one of the very strategic initiative for us, the young people, simply because most of us, the young people, would always think that being in agribusiness is being a farmer or engaging in the being in the farm every other day. But for the go-getters, I think we've always had many other people taking part in the competitions and across the value chain. You have the web developers and the app developers taking part in the competition. You have farmers, the guys who really are in the farms. We, the farmers, being in the competition. We have the consultants and every other person who plays a role along the value chain being in the competition and even getting to win these seed funding. Because first of all, one of the the biggest challenge with us the young people is getting access to finance. Because for us the young people, you go to the bank, you ask for money, you're told give us the uh, give us your title deed, give us your logbook as a car, your car logbook, so that it can be a security for your loan. But most of us, the young people, really don't have these assets that is always needed by the banks. So one very key thing I would always want to tell the young people: you can always start small, start from anywhere. Even having that idea is of being a farmer or taking part in supporting farmers can always grow out and be a big thing. Like we just did so. We started from being students who are farmers, and now we are into the profession as being professional farmers. Yes, so that is one thing I would always want to appreciate from the go-getters. It's been a nice opportunity towards the young people. Thank you.
I know we're coming back to you, Spain, as you listen to this. And maybe one thing that also actually, when Rogers and Janet were speaking, also sparked in my mind. I think there's also greater opportunity to partner with other different organizations that can be able to drive this agenda. And I look at that in this sense that I said I applied, but I did not succeed. What happens to a business like myself afterwards? How best can we continue to engage, either with the platform or with other different young people or young businesses that maybe have won that? And I think building a community around go-getters will be very critical to kind of harness the opportunity of what Janet mentioned, peer-to-peer mentorship, right? So that there is, a horizontal way of how we millennials interact. I mean, in doing business or in our normal connections online. So how is Go Getters harnessing that particular opportunity to kind of promote that peer-to-peer mentorship or peer-to-peer learning across our different businesses? And then lastly, I am also happy to say that myself and Rogers, were happy to be, take part in the Yara Leadership Academy. And I think these are really timely, as I said, interventions that are helping businesses like ourselves. Because I will give you a very funny experience. I mean, everybody in Kenya is afraid of the Kenya Revenue Authority. Yeah, because again, if you don't file your taxes right, they will definitely be at your door some days, in some form. And so one of the modules I think that we went through, during the Yara Leadership Academy was how do you go about your taxes as a business. And of course, it's a corporate responsibility, but also it's very critical to be able to understand that. So I think this very deliberate and targeted, very curated modules are very critical to support as a businesses. But I think how better we can improve that is also listen to the businesses. Where exactly is the pain point? Yeah, it could not, probably it's not in the financing. Probably for some businesses, they are slightly above, the early stages, maybe like ourselves. They're in the next level. So how best do we curate these particular modules or these particular interventions to fit, each and every special group of young people, so that then the intervention is very targeted. So as we kind of wrap up, I want to come back to you, Svein, and then give the rest of my colleagues, as the microphone will be coming back, just to share your last thoughts. I mean, around the topics that we've mentioned, anything that you feel you're passionate about that you want to share as we kind of wrap it up. But Svein, maybe take a little bit more time just to react back onto the feedback that you have listened, from the entrepreneurs themselves, from the farmers ourselves, and maybe share with us going forward also as a company, what is your, commitment listening, to all of this?
Thank you for the input, and it's very good guidance for how we think about our role going forward from Yara as well, in particular when it comes to how to support young farmers into the future. So as I've taken notes on the whole business development structure, maybe we could call it even like an ecosystem for startups, and we look across the world in various industries. We shouldn't think about farmer startups or farmer businesses as competition, but rather when you get some to work, it has this multiplication effect, and that once you get some to succeed, you'll have spin-offs, you learn from each other, and then you create that ecosystem of startups, regardless of industry. So here, with farming being such a large opportunity in Africa, that is, as startup system or mentorship through that could really help to catalyze this. So let's think further on that. Mentorship key, and it's exactly the same thing for me. I wouldn't be able to do what I do today without mentorship, and it's constant, and I still get mentorship, and this ability, and people uh, like to help as well. It's about reaching out, like you did, and then you get an answer, and then that takes you to the next level, and it really builds on top. So this is key. And how can we then utilize our structure as well to facilitate more of mentorship? And I fully agree on the value chain, because it's not only farming itself, but if when you get farming right, then you also have businesses connected to farming that could thrive as well, and that could be on processing, but it could also be on digital tools that could help in the value chain, and then the biggest barrier, financing, and that's really heartbreaking to see when young people have great ideas and the drive and the passion, and then financing is not available, and here, we all have a job to do, and also to help governments and international organizations as well to unlock funding, because there's really not lack of financing in the world today, but but how it's directed, and how it's driven, and how do we unlock that to make it available for both the farming communities, but in particular the young people. So that's something that we need to continue to work on, and have a different approach to food security, that it's not emergency aid, but rather avoiding it happening in the first place, and that's investments in farming and making that more robust. So I will do my part, but I rely on on you, because there are very strong messages, and your voices will definitely be heard. So thank you very much. It's been really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for me is to just to appreciate yourself and the entire team at Yara for these amazing opportunities you've always given us as the young people. The Yara Leadership Academy has been a change maker to both myself and Ronald, and even the other participants who took part in the program. We're now looking forward into getting the Yara Shuja exchange program to the next level. I think back in Kenya, we have many Shujas. We have many champion farmers. Shuja is a champion. So we have many champion farmers down there at the grassroots level. So we would really want to get to utilize these champions, get to see what they do, appreciated and even upscaled, and even get other farmers to emulate what they do, so that we can really move the story from this level to the next level, whereby we'll have many other young people get take part in agriculture. Thank you.
Just to summarize, mine is just as I had said before. We all need to ask ourselves in 30, 40 years, who do we still have farmers? Most people who are watching us today, they have seen both sides of our lives. When we are at the farm, when we are at the garage, when you're very dirty, and this other side where we we have cleaned up, and we have very good company. So as much as we insist, there are so many opportunities in the agricultural sector, logistics, or everything else, we still need producers. It is very beautiful, it is very noble, very honorable cause that you be a farmer. So we need more farmers.
Thank you very much to my esteemed panelists. It's really been amazing just to listen in and just, how the conversation has been going. And as we kind of bring it to a close, I just want to thank also our viewers who've been joining us, from the start to this moment. Thank you for finding time to join the Yara live event. As we kind of bring it to a close, I just wanted to read also just a few comments that have come in, from social media, just to appreciate the people who have been following us from all corners of the world. And I have a really interesting comment from Jared Kipkirui. And Jared says, there are always incredible insights to be gained from discussions about agriculture, whether it's about innovative techniques, sustainable practices, or the future of farming. It is an important topic that impacts everyone, and it's great to see Yara engaging in meaningful conversations about it. I think there's no better way to end the conversation there. That really, even as we sit here in Oslo, already back at home, there are people who are seeing value and impact in the discussions that are going on, but also really in the work that all of us are doing. And I just want to end, on this note and say, us as voices of influence have been able to get the opportunity, powered by the Yara Shuja Exchange program, to also experience the farming lifestyle and ecosystem in Norway. And we want to thank Yara and the leadership, of course, also to really thank the Yara East Africa country manager, William Ngeno, who's been very critical in supporting ourselves, to be able to go to that next level. Our promise is we will also do our part, as you said, you'll do your part. We'll do our part to make sure that we together can drive a nature positive future. Thank you very much. So I just want to invite us as we come for photos. This amazing team of, you can hold it, this amazing team of Pioneer Shujas had a gift for you, Svein Tore, of course, as the person leading all this ambition and vision, but also just to say that we are happy to partner and work together with Yara. So maybe we'll hand it over to you and you can unwrap and see. I'm not sure what's behind the wrapping.
Curious.
Yeah.
So who made this?
This is from one of the young people in Kapsabet, where I just come from.
Oh, wonderful! Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Maybe you can count it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and please convey my thanks as well.
Yes. Thank you very much for all of us who've joined in online. Continue to interact with us on the different Yara social media pages, Yara International and Yara Kenya, be it on Facebook, be it on LinkedIn, be it on Instagram. Let's keep connecting because with Yara, knowledge grows.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good job. Good job. Good job.